All right, so you're getting ready for a Crane Crew Supervisor interview,
Yeah,
which means you're stepping up to lead the teams that run those huge machines.
it's a big deal.
It's a world with high stakes where you need to pay attention to detail and really commit to safety.
For sure.
We've got a bunch of RoleCatcher resources here like career guides, interview guides, even AI insights to help you do really well.
That's great.
Think of this deep dive as fine-tuning your skills, not just for this interview, but for your whole career as a Crane Crew Supervisor.
That's a good point. It's not just prepping for one interview. It's more like building up what you need to be successful in this whole field.
Exactly.
And the good news is the job outlook is pretty good, what with all the development going on. So job security is a plus.
That's definitely a plus.
But first, let's try to get a good picture of what a Crane Crew Supervisor's world is actually like.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's look at the RoleCatcher Career Guide.
Okay.
It says Crane Crew Supervisors work everywhere, from busy construction sites to industrial settings.
Right.
Sometimes they even monitor operations remotely from those high-tech control rooms.
That's right.
It's all about leadership, precision, and making sure that every single lift is done safely and efficiently.
You got it. It's high pressure, for sure, and any wrong move can have some serious consequences.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why this interview is so important. You need to show them you know what you're doing, you've got the experience, and you can handle the responsibility.
So speaking of acing that interview, RoleCatcher's interview guide has some really great sample questions.
It does.
Ready to practice.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's start with a classic. How did you get started in the crane industry?
This is your chance to tell your story, not just run through your resume.
I like that.
What made you interested in this field? Were you fascinated by those big machines as a kid? Or did you have a mentor who got you inspired?
It's about making it personal.
Right. Bring in those qualifications and certifications you've got, but let them see your passion, what really drives you.
And then they might follow up with something like, what kind of certifications do you have? And how have you kept up with everything?
This is where you show you're all about growing professionally.
Makes sense?
Talk about any certifications that are relevant, like the NCCCO ones,
Yeah.
and explain how you stay up to date with the best practices and those safety regulations.
Right.
Maybe you go to conferences, do some training programs online, things like that.
Perfect. It shows you're dedicated to learning all the time. Okay, next question. How do you ensure the safety of your crew and everyone else on the job site?
That's a big one, and for good reason.
Definitely.
Safety is non-negotiable in this role.
You can't mess around with that.
Right. They want to see your leadership skills, how much you know about safety protocols, and how serious you are about keeping things accident-free.
So it's not enough to just say safety is important.
Definitely not.
You've got to go deeper. You need to mention specific safety protocols that you've actually put into practice.
Exactly.
Have you done risk assessments? Implemented toolbox talks? Or made sure everyone's using their PPE?
All important.
Share some examples of how you really push that safety culture.
And be ready for those follow-up questions like, can you describe a time you had to stop a lift because of safety concerns? How'd you handle that?
Oh, that's a good example of a follow-up question. They're trying to see if you'll prioritize safety, even if it means the project gets delayed.
Exactly. Now, let's switch gears to a question that digs into how you resolve conflicts.
Okay.
Describe a time you had to deal with a difficult situation with someone on your crew.
Right.
Because conflict is bound to happen, especially in a high-pressure environment like this.
Absolutely. So how would you handle it?
Pick a specific situation that highlights your communication skills and how you stay professional. Maybe you had a crew member who wasn't following safety procedures, or someone who was creating tension within the team.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff.
Walk the interviewer through the steps you took to deal with it.
And I guess what really matters is the outcome.
Right. How did your actions resolve the conflict and help create a better, more productive work environment?
Okay, now let's tackle a question that tests your organizational skills.
Let's do it.
How do you manage the scheduling and logistics of multiple crane operations on a job site?
Here's where you get to show off how well you juggle priorities, coordinate with all the different teams, and make sure everything runs smoothly.
So walk them through your process.
Yeah.
Do you use some kind of scheduling software? How do you decide what tasks are most important and assign resources effectively?
Good questions.
And what about dealing with unexpected challenges?
Like what?
Things like weather delays or equipment malfunctions.
Oh, right.
Be ready to discuss how you think on your feet and adapt to changes.
Makes sense. They might even throw in something like, tell me about a time a lift didn't go as planned. What did you do?
Oh, yeah.
Have a specific example ready that demonstrates your problem-solving skills.
Good idea. All right, let's shift over to the question that's all about your delegation skills.
Okay.
How do you decide what tasks are most important and give out responsibilities to your crew members?
This one is about more than just assigning tasks.
Right.
It's about giving your team the power to do things and making them feel like they own their work.
That makes sense.
How do you match tasks to people's strengths? Do you give them clear instructions and tell them what you expect?
And how do you support your team members and guide them when they need it?
Right.
The interviewer wants to know you can help your team grow and create a good collaborative environment.
Exactly. Be ready for follow-up questions, too. Things like, have you ever had to delegate a task to someone who wasn't so sure about it? How'd you handle that?
Yeah.
This is where you show them you can coach and mentor your team, building their confidence and skills.
Now, remember how we talked about the career guide highlighting the importance of always learning in this field?
Yeah.
Let's tie that into the question, how do you stay up to date with the latest crane technology and industry trends?
Excellent point. This is your chance to show them you're committed to staying ahead of the curve.
Okay.
Mention industry publications you read, conferences you attend, or organizations you're a part of. Maybe you even took the initiative to learn about those new technologies, like automated crane systems or those virtual reality training things.
Yeah.
And be ready for them to ask follow-up questions like, what new technology or safety regulation are you most interested in, and how do you think it will impact the industry?
Right.
Show them you're not just keeping up, but that you're thinking about the future of crane operations.
Those are all great examples of how to answer some common interview questions. But with the RoleCatcher, you're not just getting generic advice.
Right.
You're getting insights that are tailored to the specific job you're applying for.
You got it. With a RoleCatcher account, you can actually put in your answers to these questions and have the AI look them over.
Interesting.
It's like having your own personal interview coach.
I like that. So the AI compares your answers to people who have been successful in getting these jobs, identifies any weaknesses, and offers specific suggestions on how to improve.
Exactly. It can even pick up on those subtle things, like whether your tone matches the company's culture or if you're using the right jargon for the industry.
Wow. And it doesn't stop there, does it?
No, it doesn't.
RoleCatcher's AI also uses information from the career guide to make your interview prep even better.
For example, if the guide emphasizes the importance of safety leadership, the AI might suggest you add some specific examples of how you've created a safety-first culture in your previous jobs.
So it's all about connecting the dots and creating a story that really shows off your skills, experience, and passion for the role.
Exactly. Welcome back.
We're back.
We've been taking a deep dive into those common Crane Crew Supervisor interview questions.
Using all those great insights from RoleCatcher.
Why?
Let's keep going with a question that often throws people off.
Okay, what is it?
Can you describe a time you had to make a tough decision about crane operations?
This one's all about showing how you make judgments and how you can balance all those different things you have to think about, especially when it comes to safety, efficiency, and even maybe budget constraints.
Right, because those can all be factors.
Yeah, think of a situation where you had to make a really difficult call.
Okay.
Maybe you had to choose between delaying a lift because of windy conditions
Oh, yeah.
or finding a different way to do things so the project could stay on track.
That's a good example.
So walk the interviewer through how you thought about it.
Like step by step.
Yeah. What were the potential risks and benefits of each choice? How did you involve your team or other people in the decision?
Good question.
And what happened in the end?
What was the outcome?
Right. And how did you explain the decision to your team and anyone else who was affected?
They want to see you can make those tough calls, explain why you made them, and keep the team together, even when things are stressful.
Now, let's look at a question that really gets into how well you understand finances.
Okay.
How do you manage your budget and resources effectively for crane operations?
So you're not just responsible for safety and efficiency, you're also in charge of making sure the project stays on track financially.
Exactly. This is your chance to show off what you know about budgeting and making the most of the resources you have.
Makes sense.
Have you ever been involved in putting together budgets for crane operations? What things did you have to consider?
Good question.
How did you figure out what to spend money on to ensure safety without going over budget?
Did you use any project management software or tools to keep track of finances?
Right.
If you did, mention them. It shows you're organized, you pay attention to details, and you're comfortable using technology.
Don't be afraid to be specific either. Share an example of a time when you had to make a difficult decision about how to use resources. Maybe you chose a rigging solution that was less expensive but just as good.
Yeah. They want to see you can balance being cost-effective with keeping things safe and efficient. They might even follow up with, how do you stay updated on the costs of different types of cranes and rigging equipment?
That's a great point.
All right.
You could talk about how you research different vendors, compare prices, and work out contracts to get the best deal for the project.
Now, let's switch to a question that's all about your leadership style. How do you motivate your crew members and create a good work environment?
It's not just about getting the job done. It's about building a team that's not only productive, but also really engaged and wants to do their best work.
It's about more than just telling people what to do. It's about creating that sense of, we're all in this together, we respect each other, and we have a shared goal.
How do you build trust and good relationships with the people on your team?
Do you have regular team meetings? Do you acknowledge individual accomplishments and celebrate team successes? Do you encourage open communication and feedback? Share examples of how you create a work environment that's positive and supportive.
Good stuff.
They might also ask you, how do you deal with a crew member who's not performing well consistently? This is a good chance to showcase your coaching and mentoring skills.
Yeah.
You could talk about how you would figure out why the person is underperforming, give them constructive feedback, and come up with a plan to help them get better.
Now let's go back to RoleCatcher's AI and how it can help you adjust your answers for the specific job you're going for.
Okay.
Remember, you can input your answers and the AI will analyze them. It's like having a personal expert giving you feedback.
Right.
The AI compares your answers to people who have successfully gotten those jobs, points out any weaknesses, and gives you specific suggestions to improve.
So, for example, let's say you're interviewing for a job that's really big on safety leadership. The AI might recommend making your answer to that difficult decision question stronger by giving a specific example of a time you stopped a lift because of safety concerns, even if it meant the project got delayed.
Good point. Or, if the job really needs someone who's good with finances, the AI might suggest you add more details to your answer about budgeting and using resources wisely. Maybe you could talk about a time you negotiated a good contract for renting cranes or rigging equipment.
It's all about making sure your answers match up with what the company you're interviewing with values and expects. And this is where RoleCatcher's AI really stands out.
Right.
It doesn't just give general feedback. It uses information from the career guide and the job description to give you advice that's relevant to your specific situation.
Exactly. So, for instance, if the career guide mentions how important automation is becoming in the crane industry, and the job description says they prefer someone with experience in automated crane systems, the AI might suggest you work that idea into your answers. You could talk about how you've stayed current on the latest developments in automation, or maybe share a story about a time you successfully used an automated system on a project.
That's good.
It's all about connecting the dots and creating a story that's cohesive and engaging, one that showcases your skills, experience, and your passion for the job.
Right. Now, let's move on to a question that usually pops up near the end of an interview.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yes. This is your chance to show them you're really interested in the position and the company. It's also a great time to get some information that'll help you decide if this is the right place for you.
Okay.
So, what kinds of questions should you ask? Well, first off, don't ask things you could easily find out by Googling. You want to show them you've done your research and that you're truly curious about the specific challenges and opportunities of this role.
That makes sense. So what kind of questions could you ask?
You could ask about the company's safety culture, their approach to training and development, or their plans for the future. You could also ask about the specific projects you'd be working on or the team you'd be leading.
And don't be afraid to ask about the company's values.
Yeah.
Things like sustainability or giving back to the community.
Yeah, those are good ones.
These kinds of questions can tell you a lot about the company's culture and whether it matches up with your own values.
Now, let's say you're almost at the end of the interview, and the interviewer says, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Okay.
This is your last chance to really make an impression.
Right.
You could emphasize how enthusiastic you are about the role, highlight a key skill or experience you haven't talked about yet, or maybe even share a personal story that shows how passionate you are about the industry.
Good ideas. The key is to be concise, be yourself, and make it memorable.
Right.
You want to leave the interviewer feeling good and with a clear idea of why you're the best person for the job.
Exactly. And remember, even after the interview is over, RoleCatcher is still there to help you. You can use the platform to track your applications, prepare for more interviews, and keep developing your skills and knowledge.
It's all about giving you the tools to succeed in your career journey every step of the way. So we've covered a ton in this deep dive.
We have.
From what it takes to be a Crane Crew Supervisor to dealing with those tricky interview questions.
Right.
And even using RoleCatcher's AI to help you out.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about that thing you can't quite put your finger on.
That makes or breaks an interview.
Exactly. Confidence.
Oh, yeah. Confidence is key.
It's not just about feeling good.
It's more than that.
It's about showing you're competent, credible,
Right.
and that you can stay calm when things get tough, which is super important in this line of work.
For sure.
Think about it this way. You wouldn't send a crane out to a job site without checking it thoroughly.
Right. Of course not.
You'd make sure it's in top shape, ready for whatever it needs to lift.
Absolutely.
Well, the same goes for you.
Treat yourself like that well-maintained crane.
Exactly.
Right.
Get a good night's sleep before the interview.
Yeah.
Dress professionally so you feel good about yourself.
Makes sense.
And spend some time going over your notes and mentally preparing.
You want to walk into that room feeling sharp and ready to show them your best.
Right. And remember, confidence is also about your mindset.
What do you mean?
It's about believing in yourself, knowing you've got valuable skills and experience to offer.
I like that.
One really good way to boost your confidence is visualization.
Visualization.
Yeah. Before the interview, close your eyes and imagine yourself walking into the room feeling calm and collected.
Okay.
Picture yourself answering questions clearly and confidently.
Yeah.
Having a real conversation with the interviewer.
I can see it.
What's amazing is that our brains often can't tell the difference between a vivid imagination and reality.
Really?
So by imagining yourself succeeding over and over,
You're actually training your mind to believe it's possible.
right, which can really affect how you do.
It's like giving yourself a mental run-through.
Exactly.
So when the real interview happens, it feels familiar and less scary.
Another thing that can build your confidence is focusing on your strength.
Okay.
Before the interview, take a little time to think about what you've achieved, big or small.
Like what?
Those lifts that went perfectly,
Yeah.
projects you finished on time and within budget,
Yeah.
positive feedback you got from your team or your supervisors.
I get it.
By reminding yourself of your successes.
You're reinforcing that belief that you can handle the challenges of this job.
And here's something important to remember. The interview isn't just about them checking you out.
It's about you checking them out, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is this a company where you can see yourself doing well?
Right.
Do their values match yours? Are they offering opportunities that will help you grow and reach your potential?
Good point.
If you go into the interview with this mindset,
It changes things up a bit.
yeah, you're not just a candidate hoping they'll pick you.
You're actively involved.
Deciding if this is the right fit for you.
It's a two-way street.
Exactly. You're bringing your skills and experience to the table.
And you deserve to work for a company that appreciates what you offer and helps you grow.
So go into that interview prepared, confident, and ready to have a real conversation about how much you love the crane industry and your vision for leading a great team.
Good advice.
Remember, you've got this. You've put in the work, you've honed your skills, and you've got all those insights from RoleCatcher to help you.
It's all there.
Now go show them what you're made of.
Good luck with the interview. We're sure you'll do great.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive on how to prepare for a Crane Crew Supervisor interview.
It was great being here.
We hope these RoleCatcher resources and our discussion have given you the confidence and knowledge you need to succeed.
Absolutely.
Remember to check out the show notes for links to all the resources we talked about.
Yeah. And don't forget to subscribe to the deep dive so you don't miss out on any future episodes.
Thanks for listening, and best of luck in your job search.